Chapter 1. Village by the Mountain. Dopey stared wide-eyed at the roof, which was made of weeds and mud. He was wrapped in an old, yellowed cotton-padded jacket, so worn it was unrecognizable, faintly emitting a musty odor. Beside him was another person, his second older brother, Hanu, who was sound asleep. Soft snores occasionally escaped his lips. About 5 feet from the bed was a dilapidated mud wall. Due to its age, long cracks had appeared. Through these cracks, the faint sound of Han's mother grumbling could be heard, along with the captivating sound of Han's father smoking his pipe. Dopey slowly closed his slightly irritated eyes, wanting to quickly fall into a deep sleep. He knew clearly that if he didn't fall asleep now, he wouldn't be able to wake up early tomorrow, and he wouldn't be able to go chop wood with his friends. Dopey's surname was Han, and his given name was Lee. The kind of meaningful name that his parents couldn't possibly have come up with. His father, using homemade sorghum wine, asked old Yang in the village to name him. When old Rang was young, he had worked for several years as a book boy for a wealthy family in the city. He was the only person in the village who could read a few words. The names of most of the children in the village were given by old Rang. Han Li was called Dopey by the villagers, not because he was actually dopey or stupid. On the contrary, he was one of the smartest children in the village, and in appearance, he wasn't different from the other children. Aside from his family, he rarely heard anyone call him by his formal name, Han Li. It was almost always Dopey, and this nickname stuck with him to this day. The reason Han Li was given the nickname Dopey was that there was already a simpleton in the village. It wasn't a big deal. All the other children in the village had nicknames like Doggy or Second Egg, which were even less pleasant than Dopey. Therefore, although Han Li didn't like the way he was addressed, he could only comfort himself. Han Li wasn't pleasing to the eye. His skin was dark, truly a typical child from the countryside. However, the boy's inner thoughts weren't shallow. Compared to children of the same age, he was much more mature. From a young age, he had yearned for the prosperous world outside, dreaming that one day, he could leave the village and see the glamorous world that old Yang often talked about. When Han Li thought of this idea, he didn't dare mention it to others. Otherwise, it would definitely surprise everyone in the village that a child still wet behind the ears would dare to dream of such far-fetched ideas that even adults didn't dare to think about. One must know that other children of Han Li's age only knew how to chase chickens and catch dogs, not to mention those who had thoughts of seeking a living elsewhere. Han Li's family had 7 mouths to feed. He had 2 older brothers, 1 older sister, and he was the 4th child. He also had a younger sister. He was just 10 years old this year, and the family was poor, rarely having enough to eat throughout the year. Everyone in the family only hoped to have enough food to eat and enough clothes to wear. Han Li was in a daze, half asleep, half awake, and still had the lingering thought in his mind. Tomorrow, when I go to the mountains, I must bring back lots of Hong Xianguo, rose-like fruit for my beloved little sister, the kind of fruit she likes the most. At noon on the 2nd day, Han Li, under the blazing sun, with a bundle of firewood half his height on his back and holding a handful of Hong Xianguo in his arms, was returning home from the mountain. At this time, he didn't know that there was a guest at home, and this guest was the one who would change his destiny. This esteemed guest was closely related to him by blood. He was his paternal 3rd uncle. It was said that his 3rd uncle had been promoted to manager of a tavern in a nearby small town, a person his parents often spoke of. In the last 100 years of the Han family, only his 3rd uncle had achieved such a thing. From a young age, Han Li had only met his 3rd uncle a few times. His eldest brother was able to follow an old blacksmith in the town to learn the trade, also thanks to his 3rd uncle's introduction. This 3rd uncle often secretly provided his parents with food and drink, taking good care of his family. Therefore, Han Li had a very good impression of his 3rd uncle. He also knew that although his parents didn't say it, they were very grateful. His eldest brother was the pride of the family. It was said that as a blacksmith's apprentice, he received 30 silver coins each month, not including room and board. When he became a qualified blacksmith and was hired, he would earn even more. Whenever his parents mentioned his eldest brother, their expressions would be radiant, completely different from usual. Although Han Li was young, he couldn't help but admire him. He already had a job he liked, which was to learn to cook from a master chef in the town and then become a skilled cook. As soon as Han Li saw a man dressed in new clothes and with a plump face, he knew it was his third uncle. He was extremely excited. After putting the firewood behind the house, he went to the house to pay his respects to his third uncle, obediently greeting, "Third uncle," and then stood quietly to one side, listening to his parents and third uncle chat. His third uncle smiled and looked at Han Li, sizing him up for a while, repeatedly praising him with words like obedient and sensible, then turned back to continue talking to his parents about the purpose of his trip. Han Li was still young, so he didn't fully understand what his third uncle said, only getting the gist of it. It turned out that his third uncle worked in a tavern, and this tavern belonged to a martial arts sect called the Seven Mysteries sect. This sect was divided into outer and inner disciples. Not long ago, his third uncle had officially become an outer disciple of the sect and could recommend young children between the ages of 7 and 12 to participate in the Seven Mysteries sect's disciple recruitment examination. Every 5 years, the Seven Mysteries sect held a disciple recruitment examination, which would be held next month. Being alone, resourceful, and without children of his own, his third uncle naturally thought of his nephew, Han Li, who was the right age. Han Li's father, being cautious, felt somewhat hesitant upon hearing words like martial arts world and sect. Unable to make up his mind, he grabbed his pipe and took a few puffs, "Biatha, Biatha," and then sat quietly in place, saying nothing. According to his third uncle, the Seven Mysteries sect was one of the top sects within hundreds of miles. As long as one became an inner disciple, not only would they be able to practice martial arts for free and not have to worry about food and drink, but they could also earn 1 or 2 taels of silver each month. Furthermore, even if one failed to become an inner disciple, there was still hope of becoming an outer disciple like his third uncle, specializing in business for the Seven Mysteries sect. Upon hearing about the possibility of earning 1 or 2 taels of silver each month and the chance to become someone like his third uncle, Han's father finally made up his mind and agreed to his third uncle's proposal. His third uncle was very happy to see that Han's father had agreed. He left a few taels of silver, saying that he would come to take Han Li away next month and that in the meantime, they should feed him well and nourish his body so he could participate in the examination. Finally, his third uncle bid farewell to his parents, patted Han Li on the head, and left. Although Han Li didn't fully understand what his third uncle had said, he understood the possibility of going to the city and earning money. With his long-held dream about to come true, he was so excited that he couldn't sleep for several nights in a row. A month later, his third uncle returned to the village as scheduled to take Han Li away. Before leaving, Han's father instructed, encouraged, and blessed Han Li, saying he must be honest, be patient in the face of trouble, and not argue with others. Han's mother told him to take care of his health and eat and sleep well. Sitting in the carriage, watching his parents' figures fade into the distance, Han Li bit his teeth tightly, trying to hold back his tears. Although he was more mature than children of the same age, he was still just a 10-year-old boy. Leaving home for the first time made him feel a bit uneasy and sentimental. In his immature mind, he resolved that when he earned money, he would immediately return to his parents in a horse-drawn carriage and never be apart from them again. Han Li had never thought about it before, but only after leaving the village did he realize that money no longer held the same meaning for him as it once did. And he was unknowingly unaware that his destiny was unlike that of ordinary people. His path to cultivation began here.